Now in this lesson, we're going to add some SQL to the program. On first glance, it might look that SQL is more work and not worth the hassle. But like I said before, in really big projects where you have a lot of data, I for sure like it better. But we're going to learn them both, and we're going to do them both, okay? So let's go back to our Form 1. We've got our label 1, and this is going to be for entity, and we just know that. And so let's copy this to label 2. Copy and paste. And we'll have a label 2. And let's change the color, something different. Okay. Something different, purple or something. Indigo is good. Okay, so let's go back to our code. Now, we're going to leave this here, and typically, you know, we're putting this in the load. Typically, you would not do this, but this is just our first little Hello World program, so it's okay. So what we're going to do is we are going to add a using. So this is something that we're going to add, and I'm just putting it down here at the bottom to so that you can read it better. You know, typically you would put it up at the top with the rest. So we'll say using, unless there's some reason that you want it down there so that maybe you can remember it or something. Because a lot of times you'll put all of your SQL classes in just one area and then don't mess with them anymore. And so we're going to say using system.data.sql client. And so that's what we're going to need. And so that I don't have to worry about any typos, I'm going to copy from another program that I have, that I wrote, a little test program. And I'll show you. You'll understand when we get it in here. So, and like I said, you're going to say, oh, that's so much more work. And it might be, but it's just, anyway, it might be, but in the long run, it's less work because then you're not having to go in and redo things later down the road. So I copied that chunk of code, and I'm going to put it down below. Control V, copy. I'll tell you what everything is. This reader config string, you know what? Once upon a time, I had a book on, and I still have it, on C#, and it had instructions for doing things, and I got this from that book. So our data source is our dot, and we've got the 2 backslashes because since it's inside of a quote, just one would cause it to be problems. So we would say SQL Express, or if you had a different server name, that's what you would use. The initial catalog is the database you're using, which in our case is course 1. And our user ID is course 1 user ID, and our password is course 1. Now, if we had these typed wrong or missing, it would crash out and not use. So we're going to, you can tell I did this on the other program, so we're going to say select, we're just going to say select first name, comma, last name from. You do have to know SQL, but I'm going to be teaching you a few commands, so don't worry about that. And I'm going to show you where you can get the commands, which we already saw the W3 schools the other day. From app names, app user, where first name equals Cindy. Now this is a SQL command that we're sending to it. And everything has to be exact because this will not throw a compiler error, but it will crash if we have any typos in here. So we've got our SQL connection equals new connection, and we put in the config string. And then we open our connection, and if it doesn't open it, it's going to send us an error message in a message box and telling us what the problem is. Then we've got the SQL data reader, and then we've got our SQL command is the new command, which has this command right here, and the connection right here. And we just basically, you just copy and paste this code, and you just use it over and over again. So we're going to type first name here. We'll say last name. We already know what the first name is. Name, then let's say last name instead of email. Equals. And the reason we're not using first name, because in this particular case, we said that we're specifying what we want the first name is. We could have said get the first name and the last name, which we did, but we're taking that off. But that would be more data. And in one record, it's not a big deal. But if you have a whole lot of records, you want to grab as little data as possible. Like, for instance, on this entity framework one, we're grabbing the whole record. If we had hundreds of thousands of records, and believe me, that's not unusual, that's a lot of data that's not going to be used, especially if it's a big record. And that's the reason SQL is so good. You're only selecting what you want. And there's ways of getting around this, except that Microsoft has written it, not you, and you don't, you know, just because you say, only give me last name, inside that entity framework, they might still be getting it all. And entity does take longer to run. But like I said, on small things, it's not a big deal. So we're going to say, we're selecting the last name if the first name is Cindy, except we're going to say Jack, because we've already got Cindy. And so we're going to say last name is spaces, and we're going to say if the reader last name is not equal null, then last name equals last name. And I gave this the column names. We very well could have said like reader and then a 0 in here. Let's say that we have a whole long list and we would just be the index, but I typically use whatever the field name is. Then we close the reader and we close the connection. So when we're done, we're going to say label 2 text equals, we know that the first one is Jack because we specified Jack. So we're going to say Jack and then a space, and I'm say plus, and then we're going to say last name. Okay, so let's see how this works for us. See if I got it all typed right. Yes, everything has to be typed exact or it will crash. That's, you know, one of the things that you have to worry about, being super careful when you have these programs with these commands. Okay, that's exactly what we wanted. Let's say that if I type something wrong in this, just anything wrong. Let's say username and password. We'll do the same thing again, XXX. This is going to crash on us. Except in this case, it's going to send us an error message because of the way I did the exception. Okay, so this told us what the problem was. It didn't know who course 1 user XXS was. Okay, so we can fix that. And if we give the wrong server name, you know, we'll get a different message. Let's get that one. So it's trying to run. It's fixing to give us an error because I know it will. There, it finally made it. It could not find that database. The server was not found or was not accessible. It tried. So let's take the error out and let's make sure it will run. Okay. Okay, it's running again. So I'm going to give you a test, a little test. on writing an SQL program, and then next time we will work on the next lesson. Bye.